Hey, it is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we're live helping you mastermind to grow your real estate business. And what we're focusing on today is a very important topic if you're looking to really last in the real estate business, and that's on listings. You might have heard the phrase before, you've got to list to last. And we're going to talk really not just about the benefits of listings, because everyone can talk about the benefits of listings, but really how to take these listings, how to earn these listings, how to get that business that's going to exponentially grow your real estate business. So I'm super excited to bring this topic to you today. I'm John Christmo. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate, and you're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Carissimo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. What we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time is mastermind with you live to grow your real estate business. And today we're talking about a topic that's essential to your long-term success in real estate. There's the phrase you might have heard before, you've got to list to last. And the reason why you've got to list to last. So let's just go over a couple of the quick benefits of listings. And listings, just in case you're new, is when you're working with the seller. When you're listing a house for sale on behalf of the seller. And so what happens here is as long as it sells, you're basically guaranteed to get a commission. And you get that from the commitment that's attached with a listing. So you get commitment. As long as you get the property sold, even if it's not you that sells it, even if it's another broker that sells it, you get a commission. Now, if we kind of compare that to buyers, on the other hand, if you're working with a buyer and they go buy a property with another broker because you were sleeping or you didn't do the best job or they just, somebody else was in the right place at the right time and they stole your client from you, they adopted your client on your behalf, you don't get paid anything. Whereas with a listing, when you list the property with the seller, you'll negotiate a commission with the seller. So you might negotiate, let's say, a 6% commission. And typically, you would maybe keep half of that for yourself and then pay the other 3% to a cooperating broker. So now you're enlisting every broker out there that has buyers, every sales associate, every broker associate that has a buyer that might be interested in this potential property here. You're enlisting their help in getting this property sold. So what this leads to is efficiency. And when I say efficiency, so according to the National Association of Realtors, it takes 1/3 of the time to close a buyer. So compared to working with a buyer, you're looking at 1/3 of the amount of time. And the official statistic from the National Association of Realtors is 8 hours versus 24 hours. So what that means is you could close 3 sellers in the amount of time it takes you to close 1 buyer, according to the National Association of Realtors statistics. So 1/3 of the amount of time, so that efficiency. Now, another big benefit, and this is really what's going to be the exponential growth that you're experiencing with your business, is having inventory. So you walk into, let's say, a Home Depot. You go into Home Depot. The only reason you're going to Home Depot is to buy something, to get it right there that second. Because look, when we've got Amazon out there, you could just go right on Amazon and have these things delivered right to your door. Maybe a Best Buy or, a lot of these retailers, people don't, even their groceries. People aren't even grocery shopping anymore. They're hiring Instacart or Shipt or whatever it may be to have their groceries delivered to them. The Prime Pantry from Amazon. So they're going there because all they need is the inventory. And in 2019, and this has been a trend that's been shifting more and more, is they are looking for inventory. And inventory is more and more the important topic. Really, the inventory, the property, the real estate is what's always been the most important to somebody. But it's becoming more and more emphasis, and this is what they're looking at first. Back before computers, back before Zillow, back before Realtor.com, back before all these websites where people could just find houses for sale, because that's what they could do now. They could just Google houses for sale, and they see all these websites that just pop up. They don't need us for the inventory. But, and we compare that to before we had these websites, they'd have to come through us for the inventory. But look, one way to guarantee that you're going to be cited, I should say, because that's really all it is. It's usually not anything too great, but the one way to guarantee that your information is going to be on every one of these websites where this property is shown is by you listing the property for sale. And now you have inventory to advertise. So when you're advertising and marketing, is it going to be better to advertise and market your services or houses? Again, what do people want? Do they want your services or do they want the inventory? Do they want the properties? They want the properties. So the more inventory it is that you could carry, these are my listings, look at my listings, look at this property, look at that property. The more it is we could showcase that, the more it is that we start to look at the professional. Think of HGTV. HGTV, all the shows that they're playing on HGTV, they're not there with the Property Brothers or whoever just talking about how great they are. That wouldn't really be an exciting show if they just stood up there for 25 minutes saying, yeah, you know, I'm great at contracting. I could do this and I could do that and I could do this and I could do that. No, they're showing inventory. They're showing property. That's what makes the show, is the real estate. All these hosts, whether it's the Property Brothers or whoever all the other people are, Property Brothers are really the only one I know from these HGTV channels and whatnot, but the least common denominator is there's always inventory. There's always properties that they're looking at, and that's the reason why, the primary reason why people are watching these shows. Of course, the more personality and persona it is that you could attach, the better your marketing is going to become. But remember, the number one most important thing that people are interested in is the inventory. They really don't care about your services. And really that's secondary. That's second. Whereas number one, their number one priority is seeing houses that are for sale, seeing open houses, seeing properties that have sold, what they sold for, what price they sold for, what's on the market, what's available, how fast properties sold. That's what they're interested in. Not what you could do for them, but the properties. And that's what you got to lead with in your advertising. Now, there does come a time and place to sell yourself, but that's when you're right there face to face with somebody. When you're face to face with them, that's where you're selling how you could assist them in this process. But for the advertising, you're not going to get people's attention if you're going out there saying, oh, I could help you buy or sell your home. I have this many reviews on Zillow. I have this many reviews on Realtor.com. People don't care about that. They care, number one, about the inventory. Once they find the house it is that they want, then they might say, well, I guess I need somebody to sell me this house. But what happens in this day and age, wherever they're finding the inventory, that's who they're going to contact. Whether that's through Zillow and whoever's paying to be on Zillow, when they're finding the inventory, that's who they're going to contact. So if you want to compete with all these other advertising portals, you've got to lead with the inventory. Don't lead with your services. Lead with the inventory. You send out a mailer, you put out a Facebook ad, whatever it is that you want to do, you want big, beautiful picture of the house, really showcasing its best features. That's what's going to capture people's attentions, and that's what they're going to get them to pay attention to you. They might call you and say, hey, look, I saw this house in this postcard. This looks like a really great house here. Could you get me some more information on that house? So that becomes possible when you have listings. Now you could advertise your properties for sale, and you don't look like just some desperate professional, quote unquote professional, just by saying, hey, do you need to sell a house? I can help you sell your house. I have a license to do that. Yeah, hundreds of other thousands of people also have a license to do that as well. What makes you special? But when you've got the inventory, when you've got the listings, now you've got something to market. So inventory, and this is really the big thing. I know I've talked about this a lot so far. This is really what will exponentially grow your real estate business, is by carrying inventory. You should set a goal to always carry a certain amount of inventory. You think Home Depot would be in business if they didn't have any inventory? They might be able to, have some sort of business, but look, even Amazon, they have those kiosks in the mall where they've got products right there where you could pick up and take with you, their little Amazon Echo devices and all that stuff. They've got the product right there for you. So inventory, huge. That's one of the biggest benefits of carrying listings. And again, you should set a goal to carry a certain amount of listings at all times, meaning carrying at all times that you've got 10, 12, 15, 20 properties that you have listed. Now, your other goal is really the more important goal is selling these listings, because that's what gets us paid. But when we sell one, we better have at least one or two lined up that we're going to slide right in there, so we maintain our inventory, so we can continue to showcase, hey, these are the properties I have available. This is what I have. This is what, oh, you don't like this? Don't worry, I've got thousands of other properties I could show you as well. Because we do. Even though we have the MLS, people don't make that connection of, oh, you could access every single property. All right, well, let's look at every single property. No, they want one property that they're going to fall in love with, and that's why we have this inventory, to showcase these great features of the property. And maybe they fall in love with that picture and they see it and they're not so in love. But now we have a client, and now we could be the one giving them that other inventory, that inventory we've got to get from the warehouse. That's essentially what the MLS is. That's inventory we're pulling from the warehouse, whereas inventory that's on our retail floor is the listings it is that we carry. So set a goal to carry a certain amount of listings at all times. Now look, if you haven't caught the importance of carrying listings so far, the commitment, just to recap this, so the commitment, as long as this property sells, even if it's not you that sells it, even if it's another broker that sells it. Now, if you sell it, double payday there, so that's kind of a big benefit there. But even if it's another broker selling it, you still get paid. So that commitment almost ensures you're going to get paydays as long as you get that property sold. So you've got to price it right, you've got to do a little marketing with it. There are things it is you have to do, but this is definitely a more efficient model than working with buyers. Now, I'm not saying turn away buyers and don't work with buyers. If you get to the point where all you do is just carry listings and your sole responsibility is just obtaining more listings, and you've got a flow of listings where you don't have time to work with other buyers, then refer that business out to somebody who can work with the buyers and collect 25%. Or maybe build yourself out a team where you could hire and employ buyer's agents. Again, listings are the gateway to multiplying your business to exponential levels. And then again, carrying the inventory. So now how do we go about this? Let's say you've got 0 listings. You're starting 2019 with 0 listings. Or maybe you just have 1 listing. Hey, that's okay. Let's talk about 1 listing, then we'll back this down to 0 listings where you don't have anything, where you're starting from scratch. Let's say, though, you're able to get 1 listing. And you have 1 listing maybe already. But having just 1, having this inventory, having a property that's for sale. Now, we're going to use some form of marketing and advertising and farming or prospecting to showcase that inventory that we have. Look, not only are buyers interested in the inventory, but guess who else is interested in the inventory? Sellers. So when we list a property for sale, wouldn't you, as somebody thinking about selling a similar property, or maybe a property in the same market, wouldn't you also be interested in the competition? Absolutely you would. Now here's the mistake I see a lot of agents make with farming. And this does work, but I would say, so a mistake that I see with the agents farming is they'll send out a table, a chart basically, of all the properties that have sold, the prices it is that they sold for, the days on the market, and just an overload of data. And now there's certain types of individuals that can look at a chart like this and they get excited. They say, wow, this is a great chart. I bet they built this in Excel using a pivot table. So there are those people out there that exist, and you'll hit a home run sending those people that chart, but most people aren't like that. And even those people, they'll be impressed when they see a nice full color picture. So look, when you're doing marketing, when you're doing farming, now that table does have a time and place, but when you're there to be the professional to explain it. Because you might even look at some of these charts and say, wow, that's a lot of information here. What is all this info? So they need a professional to explain that, and that's when you get the face-to-face appointments where you start kind of talking about that. So when we're doing our advertising, when we're trying to market to sellers, so let's talk about how we could use this inventory. And look, if you don't got money to market right now, hey, that's fine. You could go out there and door knock. Print yourself out a couple of flyers. So yeah, you'll have to spend a little bit of money to print some full color. Don't do black and white. Black and white isn't going to get anybody's attention. Make sure it's full color. Maybe print it on some photo paper if you can. If you could spend the extra 50 cents to go print it on some photo paper or get some glossy prints of it, do that. That will definitely help push this further. But look, even if you're just printing out a couple of these flyers and you're out there door to door, say, hey, check out this property that I've got listed, or check out this property here. I'm holding an open house on it. And we're just out there getting the word out. We're just saying, hey, look, I just wanted to drop this off with you and really showcase this property. We're actually doing an open house this weekend, and I'd love for you guys to stop by to check it out. How long have you guys been in this house currently? Oh, you've been here for 5 years? Okay, cool. Do you have any plans on moving anytime soon? Yeah, of course not. No, you've only been here for 5 years. Why would you want to move? But hey, look, just so you're aware of what's going on, I really invite you to come over and check out this house. So I always recommend that homeowners stay on top of the current trends in the market. So you can really kind of see the way this property is designed and it's laid out. And in case you ever think about doing any renovations or maybe even painting your property, you can kind of get an idea of what's out there and what it is that you think of that. And when you do buy, you'll be better educated and better informed because of that. And hey, look, if at the very least, just come and get yourself some free food. I've got some great sandwiches coming from Wright's Deli or wherever it is. You're doing everything you can to get them at the open house because that's what's going to foster the relationship. So that's what you can do this door to door. Just get yourself a flyer, nice full color picture of the house. Maybe some details, maybe your little picture down here, some details on that. That's it. Look, it doesn't have to be rocket science. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing in the world. Don't make the other mistake a lot of agents make by spending hours trying to, design this or learn Photoshop or anything like that. Look, this could be a simple Word document. Make the picture nice and big. Make the text nice and big. Don't put too much on there. Don't overload it. Make it look pretty. And most importantly, don't spend too much time designing this. Because look, this is just something to grab their attention. It needs to be short, it needs to be sweet, it needs to be beautiful, it needs to look nice, full color. Just something quick and easy to grab their attention because that's all you're trying to do. And you're just going out there handing out this flyer. Now look, if you've got some money to expend, maybe you send this out through the mail. You could really multiply your efforts because knocking on doors, that might take you to maybe knock on 100 doors if you're really moving through them, maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, maybe 1 hour, depending on how many people actually answer their door. The very least, you're just leaving one of these on their door, putting on the rubber band on their doorknob or whatever it is. Hey, sorry, I missed you. Maybe handwrite something on there. Or if you've got some money to spend, you could put this in the mail. You could put this in the mail, mail that out. Now that still might take some time on your part unless you're really spending money to now have this printed and mailed for you by some sort of company. Those exist out there. Or maybe you want to go digital with this. Maybe you're not going to put this in the mail. Maybe you're going to use Facebook ads. Maybe you're going to use Google pay-per-click ads. Maybe you're going to use some sort of digital marketing where you don't have to print anything. You just upload the picture into, let's say, Facebook. You put the radius of where it is that you want to target, and you're now building out maybe some sort of landing page around this particular property. Maybe you've got a video of it, and maybe then you've got some retargeting ads to follow up on this. Now look, the digital marketing stuff gets a lot more complex. So start out with easy things. Start out with easy things you can replicate, but whatever type of advertising, remember the number one rule of farming. And when I say farming, I just mean advertising. So the number one rule of farming, remember, number one most important thing, farming or advertising, is never give up. Never give up. Never stop marketing to this group of individuals. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about how to gain more listings, how to earn more listings. And it all starts with getting in front of more people for more opportunities for more listings. But now, once we start getting these leads, how is it that we progress further towards getting a contract and then actually selling that listing? So that's what we've got coming up. Stick with us. I'm John Charisma. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate, where we're talking about how to take your 2019 business to exponential levels. And the gateway to doing that is through listing. Yes, buyers are important too. But when you're seeking out business, you should be seeking out listings, because buyers are going to be a byproduct of listings. Now, before we go any further, because I want to talk in depth about how do we start getting these leads in and now transitioning the lead into an actual contract and then getting that contract closed. But before we go into that, so Herc Morris over on Facebook put in a question of, hey, look, what if we're new to real estate? What if we don't have any listings? That's a great question, because this is where a lot of people are starting from. They don't have any listings and they're just trying to get that one. Once you get that one, now you've got the inventory that you can take out there and start blowing that up and start exponentially increasing your business. But now, how do we get from nothing to something? How do we go from that zero to just one listing? And look, if you don't have a listing, here's the secret: borrow a listing. Sorry, I said if you don't have a listing, borrow a listing. Now, how do you borrow a listing? So maybe find somebody in your office, a nice, jolly, friendly individual. Maybe this is your broker. Maybe it's another agent in the office, whatever the case may be. And just say, hey, do you mind if I market your listing? You want to market my listing? You want to try to get my listing sold? No way. At your expense? No way. No how. Don't ever do that. Don't ever try to sell anything. I don't want to get paid on these listings. And if I do get paid, I want to get all the money myself. Don't try to market my listing. No, you're not going to see that. Doesn't matter. Anybody you go to, you ask them nicely, hey, do you mind if I'm trying to get some business for myself, maybe find some buyers, maybe pick up some listings. Do you mind if I market your listing? If I go spend some money, if I go door knock properties using your listing? And look, when you're doing this within your office, you could say, hey, my office just listed this property. You don't have to say it's your listing, because it's not your listing. But you could say, hey, my office listed this property, because remember, all the listings are property of your brokerage office. So you absolutely could go out there and say, hey, my office just listed this property for sale. We're actually having an open house this weekend. Maybe you also ask this agent, hey, do you mind if I market your property a little bit? Maybe find somebody that's busy, that doesn't have time to market this on their own. And now it's a win-win for the two of you. Hey, do you mind if I market your property a little bit and hold an open house this weekend? Oh, you do? You don't mind at all? Hey, look, I'm not trying to take any of your commission. I just want to, maybe get a buyer to that, or find some buyers for this property. I know you're busy, and I know your seller would really appreciate this. Look, you usually don't even have to sell them that much on it. Hey, do you mind if I market your property? I want to try to find some buyers and maybe help get your property sold. Sure, sounds great. Now you're out there. You're knocking on doors. Again, starting with nothing. No listings, no money. You go print out some flyers. You say, hey, do you mind if I use your printer a little bit as well to print out these pages? If it's their listing, they're probably not going to have any problem with that. So even if you can't afford a printer or the ink to put in the printer, find somebody that has a listing and borrow their listing and work with them and help them sell that property. Anything that we're doing to market this property is going to be potentially getting that property sold. And now they could turn around and go to their seller, yeah, I have an agent that's out there going door to door, knocking on doors, passing out flyers of your property. Wow, you're really doing that? Wow, you're a great agent. And see, they get all that credit. They get all that credit when you're doing all the work. So why would they say no to that? You might find somebody to say no. Maybe you really jumble this up when you're asking for this, and maybe they say no, that I'm just not comfortable with that, or oh, this might be against the law, and it's not. So if that happens, if whatever worst case scenarios they say no, just go to somebody else. Hey, do you mind if I market your listing? I just want to help get your property sold. Do you want your property sold quicker? I bet you do. Great, let me market your listing a little bit. Oh, by the way, do you mind if I print off some flyers on your printer too? My printer is in the shop right now. Or whatever it is that you got to do. Look, printers are like $50. So whatever you got to do to hustle up some business in the beginning, get creative with it. But look, key thing is you're just borrowing a listing. You're going to somebody else and you're saying, hey, do you mind if I market your property for sale? Now you've got borrowed inventory. Now you've got this listing on consignment, basically, where you're out there, trying to get this listing sold for somebody else. And if they buy that one, we get a commission. Now, if they don't buy that one, are they going to want to buy a property? And do we have our foot in the door that they want to buy a property? Yes. Or maybe do we have our foot in the door if they're looking to sell their property? Double yes. So look, if you don't have a listing, borrow a listing. That's really the secret to starting with nothing and getting to something. And then once you have that one, now you're multiplying your efforts further, because every little piece of marketing is you do marketing that listing, even if you're not working with the buyer, you're going to get half of that commission and the other broker will get the other half of that commission. Or if you do find the buyer, now you're getting double commission. So, but hustle your way to getting that one listing in the beginning, like I said, by borrowing listing. If you don't have listings, carry somebody else's listings. Borrow other people's listings so you have that inventory to market. Because without inventory, why would somebody want to come to us? They're not interested in our services. Yes, they do need them, but that's not what they're interested in. So let's say we start getting some leads in. Now maybe we're doing this with an online marketing system, with Facebook or Google pay-per-click or whatever it may be. Maybe we're paying for some sponsored listing on Realtor.com or Zillow or Truly or whatever it is. There's lots of opportunities to market these properties online. But hey, look, there's always people behind doors that'll answer doors, behind their phone that'll answer their phone, that are still looking in their mail. Everyone still checks their mail. Maybe they don't do it as often as they used to, but they still check their mail. And yeah, there's a lot of junk mail in there. There's a lot of competition you'll have in that mailbox of other junk mail. But hey, look, there's competition on Facebook. You're competing with kids' pictures and videos of animals doing weird things and funny things, and you're competing with this entertainment. So everywhere it is you're trying to market, there's always going to be competition. So don't let that tell you that this is a bad type of marketing. Really, any marketing is good marketing. It's just some marketing is better than other marketing. So you're doing something, whether that's the face-to-face, door-to-door, over the phone, online, in their mailbox, something to get attention. Because if you're not getting any attention, you're not going to get any additional listings. Maybe you get a referral. But look, in order to get a referral, these people have to know that you're in real estate. They have to know that you're the person they need to go to. And the way you do that, again, using our inventory. Putting that inventory out there. People are so used to seeing ads, they're not going to think twice. Why are they sending me this house? Why are they sending me a picture of this? No, they're just used to it because they're just so used to getting advertised to. So it's the system that we live in. But now let's say we're starting to get the leads. What is that goal? When we go knock on somebody's door, somebody calls us up and says, hey, I saw this property here. We're actually thinking about selling our house. Could you tell me what the house is worth? Hey, absolutely. I could get you a baseline estimate right now. I just need some details. And we start collecting some data about them. We start doing some fact finding. We start asking them, tell me a little bit about your house. How many bedrooms is it? How many baths? How long have you lived there? What's your property tax bill? How much is your outstanding loan balance? We're collecting all this information and say, hey, look, I'll really get you a much more accurate number when I come out there and see it. Just over the phone, it's looking like it's going to be maybe $350,000, and maybe all the way as high as $400,000, maybe as low as $300,000 or $275,000. I'd really have to see it to get you a much more accurate number than that. That's the range it is that you're looking at. Look, I'm actually going to be in your neighborhood next week. What day works best for you for me to come out there and take a look for a few minutes and get you a more in-depth valuation of the property? Now, you might say, John, shouldn't I tell them, no, I have to see the property to give them any sort of number? What if I tell them it could be as high as $400,000 and the property's just a complete mess and it's a complete disaster and it's worth like $250,000 and I told them $400,000? Hey, look, that happens. Say, hey, look, this property, we could potentially sell it for $400,000, but if you wanted to do that, it's probably going to need at least $150,000 worth of renovations in it. Now, look, if you don't want to spend the time, headache, and whatnot of putting that in there and risk maybe overspending on the renovations, we just need to price it at a lower price point. And what it looks like here based on the comparables, really, that's a lot more in depth when we get in there. But look, that's an easy thing to overcome. But look, if we tell them no, we're not going to give them the price. Say, I can't give you the price over the phone. The laws don't allow that. What are they going to do? Because the laws do allow that. We could definitely, as long as we have a license, we could give them an estimate of value over the phone. We don't necessarily need to see the property. You say, hey, look, this is an estimate without me seeing it. It's maybe in this range here. I really need to get out there and see it to get a better, more accurate value we could put on this property. But, this is maybe the range it is that you're looking at. If we don't tell them that, if we say, no, you got to meet with me. You've got to sign a contract if you want me to tell you the value of the property. What are they going to do? They're going to go Zillow.com. What's my home's value? Put in their address, and then Zillow's going to give them that range. Why give them the opportunity to go to somebody else, to go to another company, to go to another agent, to go to somebody else who will give them the information? Do not withhold that information. So yeah, hey, look, I'm going to get you a value right now over the phone. Now, it's not going to be the most accurate because I can't see the property, but I'm going to try to make it as accurate as I can. And we're asking these questions. What would you say the condition of the property is? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's the condition? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? How many square feet? What type of flooring? When was the last time you painted it? When was the last time you did this? When was the last time the yard was re-landscaped? Oh, should I do that? It's definitely a bonus that's in there. I'll just go ahead and put down no for now. We could talk about that to see if that really is something that would be a benefit for you. And so what we're trying to do is we're transitioning to an appointment. And again, we want to feed them this information. We want to give them the information about their property, this range. Say, hey, look, it could be maybe, I'm thinking 350,000, might be as low as 300, might be as high as 400. We'd have to take a look out there and see it. Maybe see if are you interested in doing any renovations for the property, or do you just want to sell it as quickly as possible? Now, what is that telling you? That's telling you how motivated they are. If they say, no, I just need to sell it as quickly as possible, boom, we just basically hit a home run. We just got told by the pitcher, hey, I'm going to put it right down the middle so you can knock it out of the park. That's what happens when they say, hey, I need to sell as soon as possible. Now, if they do say, hey, maybe I would want to do some renovations, they might still need to sell quickly, but they might be thinking of maybe putting a little bit of money in it. They want more information. And again, when we provide them the information, we are using the inventory to catch their attention, and now we're selling our professionalism. We're selling our level of knowledge by providing them with information. Say, hey, look, I'd love to come out there sometime next week. I could even do next weekend or in the evenings. You just name the time, and I'll make it fit into my calendar for you. And look, it won't take too long. I'll make sure we could fit it in here. It won't take too long. Just we'll go through and give you some ideas on if you do some sort of renovation, how much value that'll add to the property. Because, the last thing I want to see you do is spend $20,000 making some improvement when it really only gets you a couple $1,000s extra in the value of the property. I know you absolutely don't want that as well. I've seen it happen though many times. So look, just would 5 o'clock be good for you, or would 7 o'clock be better on Wednesday? And then just get that appointment. Now, you're not going to get the listing over the phone. The goal here on the phone of these phone calls is to get an appointment face to face. You want to start building relationship, but number one goal here, let's say they're rushed for time. Say, hey, I only have a couple minutes. Hey, no problem. I'll get you the best estimate I can within these couple minutes here, and then we'll determine if we need an appointment to really get something much more accurate. And then we just run through this really quickly, and then again, we go back to, hey, look, I'll get you something much more accurate, let you know what type of renovations will yield you the budget. But hey, let me ask you this. Are you even interested in renovations, or do you want to just sell the property as quickly and easily as possible? Oh, I want quick and easy. Boo! Knock that one out of the park there. They just threw it to you right down the middle. That's a huge opportunity. That's the low-hanging fruit. And now you're picking up inventory. Now you go there on the appointment. Again, you're building the rapport. You're looking more in depth at the property because that's what they're concerned with. They're concerned with the value. And now what happens when you start giving them this number, this information up front? You tell them that range of 300 to 400. Yes, they're thinking hopefully their property's closer to 400, but you've already preemptively had told them, hey, yeah, it might be as low as $300,000 depending on some certain things. And now we tour the property and we're open and honest with them. Hey, yeah, this room here, these carpets, when were these put in here? Oh, they're 10 years old. Yeah, that's something there. Maybe it's got a really bad smell to it. Maybe you just tell them it's he's like, yeah, you can definitely tell there's some wear and tear on those there. And what we're trying to do here is let them understand that we're not just slapping some dollar amount that we came up with off the top of their head on the property. We're really doing an in-depth analysis of what this value is. And we're going through this and we start talking about the value, and then we get the agreement on the value with them. That's what's most important, is getting the agreement on the value first. And then what happens now after we have the agreement on the value? Now we transition into the presentation of our services, of our skills, of what it is that we're going to do to get them that value it is that they talked about here. What options it is they have available. Maybe you have different commission rates. Maybe you want to charge a 7% if you do this, this, and this, or 6% if you just do this and this. So you have these different packages, these different options it is that you could offer to them. And now we're talking about, not whether or not they want to do it, but which option they want to select. Do they want to pay the higher commission and get the full package, the full suite of, professional photography and videography and the drone stuff and putting it on websites and being a promoted listing in these places and that places? Or, they're just looking for the more simple package that might take a little bit longer to sell. Maybe not the express sale package, maybe not the highest and best package, but maybe, just the express sale, the economy package, or whatever it is you want to call it. Probably don't call it economy package because they probably won't be too impressed with that. But again, now, if you could get there in the appointment, I don't have the exact statistic for you, but it's something like 80% of people sign up for their listing. 80% of sellers will sign the listing agreement with the first realtor they meet with. Might be slightly lower or higher than it. Somewhere in the ballpark. Don't quote me on that. That's off the top of my head. Somewhere around 80% sign with the first realtor they meet with. Even if it's 70%, you've got pretty good odds there. You've basically got 8 and 10 odds. If you could have 10 appointments, you're going to walk out with 8 listings if you don't trip over yourself. And worst thing that happens, you trip over yourself. But then what do? Well, you're getting this pipeline of more and more sellers. You shouldn't just rely on one property and one seller. Oh, this is going to be the listing that makes me a millionaire here. This $300,000 house I'm listing, somehow, some way, this is going to be the one that does it for me, that makes my 2019. Yeah, you might make $10,000, $20,000 selling that one property there. But is that really making your year? Is that really giving you the kindling it is that you need to grow your business? It's a good start. But look, you don't want to rely on just one property. Again, you want to set that goal, maybe 10 listings, maybe 15 listings, maybe 25 listings. You want to set the goal to carry this many listings at one time. So when you hit those 20% of the times or 30% of the times, if I'm highballing that number, maybe 40% of the time you don't get the listing. But look, again, that's 10. If you could walk into 10 listing appointments and just get one listing, would that make it worth the $10,000, $15,000, $20,000? Absolutely. But being that you have 8 in 10 odds, that you have an 80% chance that you're going to get the listing just by being the first person that they meet with, I mean, come on, this is, what do they call it? Fish in a barrel or whatever it is. I mean, this is the low-hanging fruit. If you get there in the property, yes, they're not all going to list with you, but then what do? Never give up. Even if you completely blow it, you make a fool of yourself and you never want to show your face to these people again, show your face to them again. Show up again. Because you're not going to have just one thing that blows the deal. It might delay it. It might stall it. But look, just be persistent. Even if you know you blow it there on that first appointment, you're following up with them. Hey, look, I completely understand that you're not ready today. How long do you think before you're ready? Do you need a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years? What are you thinking? Oh, we're thinking probably a couple months. Great. 2 months? 3 months? Probably 2 months. Okay, how about I follow up with you in a month or next week or tomorrow? Just go over, recap some of this stuff here, make sure everything made sense. They say, oh, no, that's too rushed for me. Okay, let's do a week from now. Just a week from now, look, just 5 minutes. We'll just do a quick phone call. Does that sound good? Okay, great. I'm going to text you some other information when I get back to my office as well that's going to have some more info. Again, always lead with the information. If you didn't get a deal closed there, it just means they need more information. They didn't have enough information to commit to a decision. So just get them more information and continue to be persistent. Do not give up. Stay, because you've already started building this relationship, and even if there's some speed bumps, even if there's some bumps it is that you hit, you could still end up turning this into a deal. And they might genuinely not be ready yet. And hey, that's okay. That's cool. And again, we just want to have that full pipeline of more and more people it is that we're meeting with. And then we can afford to have some appointments that we don't close the appointment. Hey, that's perfectly fine. If we're doing 10 appointments this week, if we got one listing a week, let's just run the numbers on this here. If we just did one listing, and let's just say that, we're really terrible at listing appointments, and we go on 10 appointments. We go on 10 appointments a week, and we only walk out with one listing. But we do that once a week. We do 10 appointments a week. We only end up with one listing because we're just the worst closer in the world. We do that. Let's take 2 weeks off, too. Let's say we do that 50 times. We walk away with 50 listings. How much money would you make on 50 listings? But John, not all these listings are going to close. Hey, fair enough. Let's say only half of them close. We're really, again, lowballing these numbers. Let's say that half of them, 50% of these listings actually close. We get 25 closings. What's your commission on these closings? Is it $10,000? Roughly $300,000 at a 3% rate of commission. It's about $9,000, so we'll shoot a little higher, maybe $330,000, $350,000 to get to that $10,000 per commission. 25 closings at $10,000 a piece. What's the math on that? Just a shabby, meager $250,000. Hey, look, let's say we're working in cheaper properties. Maybe we've got a brokerage split. Maybe we don't make that much. Maybe we only make $5,000 on each closing. Then what are we walking away with? $125,000. Look, doing this math, doing these numbers, setting these goals. Now, if we're picking up one listing a week, that's a lot of listings. And if we're going off of those odds, if we're going to get 8 listings out of every 10 listing appointments, then really we would get 8 listings that week. So if we could just improve our closing skills slightly, if we just get one more listing, we're still doing the 10 appointments a week, but now we're up to 2 listings. Again, let's say we just got that we're going to work the 50 weeks out of the year. Now we're getting 100 listings, which means 50 closings if we're only closing half of them. You'll probably close more than them, but let's say it's just half. Still at that $5,000, we're back up to $250,000. What if our commission is $10,000? Well, now we're at $500,000. You know, let's say that we're maybe getting even better, and we're coming up to the average of 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Let's say, it's taking more time, so we only go on 5 appointments a week. We only do 5 appointments, so that's just 1 a day. 1 listing appointment a day, Monday through Friday. That's 5 appointments. Maybe you stack them up and you do 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. Maybe 3 Saturday, 2 Sunday. We do 5 appointments, and we're doing 8 out of 10. So now we're picking up 4 listings. 4 listings a week. At 50 weeks, now we're getting 200 listings. Let's again drop it down to that $5,000 price point. Again, only half of them closing. That's 100 closings. At $5,000, that's $500,000 there. Might get a higher closing ratio, maybe more of them close. Even more money on top of that. So much money to be made, and this isn't even factoring in the residuals that you're going to get off of the buyers. All of these tangents that come across this, the other listings it is that you'll pick up. It might sound lofty to start out getting 10 appointments a week, and yes, if you're starting from nothing, it will be extremely difficult to get 10 appointments a week, but that's what you want to shoot for. And even if you only close 1, don't get hung up on how bad your presentation is or how bad your skills are or whatever it is. If you're doing 10 appointments a week, you'll figure it out. You'll start getting good. But the key thing is getting more and more and more in your pipeline so you can afford to mess these up. Don't rely on just 1 appointment, because 1 appointment, at the most, it's only 1 listing. And no one gets rich off of 1 listing. No one gets rich off of 10 listings. If you're doing just the 1 listing it is that you're getting a month, that's 12 listings. Yeah, that's a decent year. But if you're really trying to take your business to the next level, you're going to want more than 12 listings. You should be carrying 12 listings at any given point in time. And the more these listings it is that you're carrying, the faster it is that you're going to be able to increase your business. So look, that's about all the time it is that we've got for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. Thank you guys for tuning in. Look, if you got value out of this, share this with your realtor friends. Share this with your realtor family. Just share it. The right people will find it eventually. Facebook, they're inside of our minds. They know who to show these shares to when you share this stuff. So hit the share button. Show us some love here. And if you have any questions about obtaining your license, passing your real estate exam, completing post-licensing, continuing education, or anything like that, give us a call. Our phone number is 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. Also, check out tampaschool.com, specifically the Success Center. If you go to tampaschool.com/success, you'll find all of these videos of Ask the Instructor, State of Real Estate, calculators, articles, so many tools to help you build a successful real estate career, because that's what we want to do at the Tampa School of Real Estate. We want to make you successful, because when you're successful, you'll make us successful. You'll tell all of your friends and family, hey, there's no other school to go to aside from Tampa School of Real Estate. Full disclosure, that is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help you become successful so you make us successful. And that's the same thing you want to do with your clients. When you're out there trying to market to these sellers, you want to talk about how you can make them successful, because their success is your success. That's all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.